Okay, I just want to say quick thanks to everyone who commented on my last video, who watched my last video to do with Glenn, and my thoughts on him, my memories of him. And there were some lovely comments from many different people, and some nice ones about myself too, but obviously mostly to do with Glenn and people's thoughts, people's memories. And it's really nice to see people coming together and sharing their positive memories of Glenn. That's lovely to see, But I do want to, just let people know, I don't want to mislead anyone, I think there's a kind of a presumption that if you're out there on the internet speaking about music, which I don't normally do, I've only done it once or twice, but that if you're doing this kind of thing, you're probably on the left, you're probably a leftist. Well, that's not me. Sorry to disappoint anyone who might have assumed that, and look, I probably started off when I was younger, a bit more impressionable, a bit more naive, you could say. Yeah, probably was a kind of, default leftist, as a lot of people, I would say the majority of young people and older people, most people I would say, brought up in the West over the last 50 or 60 years. That's the kind of default, you sort of start off in your schooling, education and so on, you're kind of taught to be on the left. Not necessarily an activist or radical, but just, that's kind of the default position. And that was me for many years. I just didn't question it, I just went along with it. And I could see it was kind of a go with the flow kind of position. It was a kind of don't upset anyone kind of position. Don't rock the boat, just go with the consensus, go with what the establishment will say. For the most part, the power structure, for the most part, not entirely, but for the most part, that is kind of the direction of travel, we'll say. And that's the way you're kind of led. And I just went along with that for many years, really, until real life, I guess. Maybe made me more aware of how things work and how things are, and that some of the things I've been taught to believe were not necessarily true, or at least were not quite as they had been taught to me, shall we say. And in that process, I sort of moved away from that default leftism. And I don't call myself right wing or anything like that. Some of my views are more leftish, you could say, but in general I don't really align with left or right. But these days, if you care about topics like mass immigration and demographics, you're automatically slotted into that box that says right wing or even far right. And to me this is just nonsense, because if you go back a few decades, it was more so the left who were speaking about mass immigration, because they were aware, this is not good for native workers. This undermines them in terms of, it provides more wage competition, which is better for the employers, so not for the employees. Competition for jobs, resources, tends to suppress wages. Other things as well, like more people in the country tends to lead to higher inflation as well, increasing the cost of living. Often increases rents, house prices, obviously has an impact on the supply of housing as well. There's many more reasons it could go into. Not good for the environment, not good for the natural resources and so on, having that extra pressure on them from this increased population, many more reasons. But the left used to realise this, used to recognise this, trade unions used to recognise this, but they gradually became captured over time. And these are the kind of reasons why I left that kind of default leftist position that I would have had when I was younger, But it is it's food for thought. But I just wanted to sort of make that clear or obvious to anyone who maybe has the wrong idea that I would be one of those people who you normally find in these kind of circles, interested in music and art and culture and travel, food and architecture and other related fields. That these people tend to be in the left more often. That's not really me. So just want to let you know, don't want to mislead anyone. But again, just to say thanks very much to everyone who did come to the channel, who did comment so nicely on the videos. Sorry, on the video, I should say. Video of Glenn and my thoughts on him. And yeah, I will return probably to more political commentary over the next while, so just be aware of that. If that's not your bag, you know, feel free to stay or go, whatever you think is appropriate for you. But yeah, that's how it is, folks. So talk soon.